Thank you very much, Minister Morris Dixon, and good afternoon, good morning to everyone. Good morning, especially to our ministers who are in attendance, and of course, all the distinguished persons who are here, including, of course, you, the media, and the members of our public. I want to say that this has been a long journey, but we are in for the run. We are about to be impacted even more by a hurricane that is a major hurricane moving over the waters of the Caribbean Sea. If you take a look at the image that is being projected, I believe that most of us are able to see this, but it shows that the center of the hurricane is now some distance, over 100 miles, to the south of Jamaica. It is south really of one of those points along the coast of St. Elizabeth. So it is really in that general direction, which would signify that it is closer to the western end of the island than to the eastern. You know, there's a common feeling that if it reaches there, that means the eastern part is free of all folly and will not experience anything that is related to this hurricane. But I would like to tell you that that is not really the case. And although the center has moved past your longitude, which is how far west it is, you will still see that the situation will deteriorate further right across the country, and all parishes are likely to be impacted. This is a Category 5 hurricane. There are no additional categories for hurricanes. We go from 1 to 5. Any stronger than that is still a Category 5. And so it is at the strongest category that it could possibly be. The system, yes, it could gain additional strength, but it will still remain a Category 5 hurricane. Now, it is just about at the point where the projected path of it will indicate that it will move closer to the island. Over the past many hours, it has been moving directly west, which means that the latitude has remained the same. It has not moved any further north or dropped to the south. It has stayed at the same latitude, continuing westward over the waters south of Jamaica. So we will show you the chart of how it's moving in a little while. But let me show you what our radar image is projecting as well. The radar, the Doppler radar in Jamaica is showing that there are numerous showers associated with the system. The center, as I said, some distance to the south, but around that center, immediately around it, is a very tightly knit area of showers, thunderstorms, intense activity, also very, very, very strong winds. That is where the maximum winds of the hurricane are actually concentrated, in the eye wall, which is right around that eye. And it's a very distinct eye. It's a number of a couple of miles probably wide. And so it will actually show when it moves, if it moves over the island itself, a number of areas will experience the calm of the eye. But of course, that cannot be possible until you have gone through the eye wall. And again, after the eye passes by, you have another aspect of the eye wall to go through as well. But this system shows, this picture shows that the system is generating lots of showers right around it. There are bands of rainfall that extend some distance from that eye. And here we see many of those bands also extending across sections of Jamaica. Many of our parishes have already started to experience some of the activity from this hurricane. A number of parishes have experienced rainfall, mainly light to moderate, but in occasions it has been east over the number of areas of the country as the system moves a little bit closer. Now, it is at the point where we are expecting that it will start to turn toward the north. This means that it will get closer and closer to Jamaica. That is the projected path. I have to keep saying that because it's often said that I said one thing and this is something else. But the truth is, this is a dynamic situation. It changes as the moments go by. And so the track changes are also possible. Earlier I was telling you that it would make landfall in Clarendon. Later I was saying it would have been in St. Elizabeth. It's not that anything was wrong with what was being said, but there are updates to the forecast based on information that is gathered, and as the system moves closer. As you are closer to impact, the forecast gets more accurate. So when I tell you that we are being hit by a hurricane, you know that it is accurate. We are being hit by a hurricane. At this time, I can only say that it is likely that we will be hit by this hurricane. It is moving closer to us. There is just a small window of opportunity where it could continue to shift. The track could continue to be shifted toward the west, and then it could be moving over the waters to the west of Jamaica. Of course, all of us are hoping for that and praying for that. But at the same time, we have to be practical. Right now, the projected path takes it to the southwestern part of Jamaica, impacting either eastern Westmoreland or extreme western St. Elizabeth as it makes its entry, its landfall on Jamaica. Then it's expected to continue moving to the northeast. All at this time, it is expected to be a major hurricane. Right now, a category 5, it's quite likely that it will drop in terms of the strength of the system slightly to a category 4 before it makes the landfall. But still, let us prepare ourselves for a category 5 hurricane, if you can actually prepare for a category 5 hurricane. And then it will move over that southwestern part of the island, moving toward the northeast. We expect that the exit will be just about in the vicinity of St. Anne, along the coast of St. Anne, which means it is not going directly north, but somewhat east of north. So making its entry near the border of Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth. At this time, that's the projection. And then moving across sections of Trelawney and St. James, in the interior of the island, through the cockpit country probably, and then moving across along to the coast of St. Anne. So that's the projected path. During this time, it's likely that it will weaken a little bit more. It may exit the island possibly as a category 3. It might still be a weak category 4 at that time, and then it will continue on its way closer to the eastern part of Cuba. So that is the forecast. It is expected that that entry, that landfall, will take place early on Tuesday. That means within 24 hours, tomorrow morning. It could actually be during the early hours before the sun. Is there a sun? We haven't seen it for a few days. but when at sunrise, we still have that time that we call sunrise, whether it rises or not. And so at that time, we should be seeing that there is a landfall of the center of this hurricane. A landfall means, yes, that the center is moving across the coastline, but it also means that the areas around that coastline are going to be most impacted. Around that eye will be most impacted. So parts of eastern Westmoreland, parts of western St. Elizabeth, and then surrounding areas of those moving as it continues to move, the closest areas to that center will get the greatest impact. We'll get the strongest winds reaching hurricane force. So hurricane force winds are expected over parts of Westmoreland as well as St. Elizabeth. The extent of hurricane force winds is just about 80 kilometers, I believe, because it's about 40 on either side of the center. So that's the extent of hurricane force winds. Depending on where that center is, you can measure whether your area is likely to experience it. But of course, there is some shift in exactly where that landfall will take place. Then the tropical storm force winds extend a much greater distance and should cover the entire island, or most of the island. To the east will be impacted by tropical storm force winds, even though the center is not moving across your area. So if you think that you live in Kingston and you will not experience the eye, and so you are free from fear or worry or concern, I don't encourage fear or worry, but I do expect you to be concerned about what is taking place. If you think that you are free from that, think again, because the heavy rains will also affect you. The strong winds reaching tropical storm force could still continue to affect you as we go through the day on Tuesday. That's all the way through tomorrow. The exit of this system is likely to take place in the evening hours on Tuesday as well, so it's not expected to remain over the island until Wednesday, because there will be a slight increase in the wind speed, in the direction of, in the speed of movement of the system. Right now, it's still moving at only about 6 or 7 kilometers per hour, but it should pick up a little bit as it is moving across us, and so we expect only about 6 to 8 hours as it moves from the south coast to the north coast. The rainfall is what is being shown. The projected rainfall is what is being shown on this chart that you're seeing here. This is showing that you could have anywhere up to 30 inches of rainfall over much of the country. And that includes all central parishes, it includes eastern parishes, and to some extent, some sections of western parishes could see that. If you're in hilly terrain, you should also look out for even more rainfall, because in hilly terrain, the rainfall amounts are expected to be higher. Of course, we expect that you will have a lot of flooding from this. And you can see on the picture that all of the island will experience even up to 20 inches of rainfall over sections of your area. So if you are in a flood-prone area, anywhere across the country, you can expect that flooding is going to occur as long as the system moves in the direction that is projected. Landslides are also a very real possibility and likelihood, because as the soil is saturated and as the soil is loose, we are expecting that we will have landslides as well. Moving on, this picture shows a little bit about the storm surge that is expected. And there are some areas that are being highlighted where we see in the Black River area, that is where the highest likelihood of storm surge is at this point, based on the current projection of the track. The center should be just west of there, and therefore they would have the greatest likelihood of experiencing higher storm surges, getting up to like 16 feet. That's a possibility, or 14 feet, I should say, in that area. As you move along the coast, of course, there are some areas that might not be impacted significantly by storm surge, especially if you don't have a gradual slope onto the land, but you might have a cliff face. But if you're moving into the Portland Cottage area, Salt River area, because you're in that little inlet, you also have a strong likelihood of experiencing some storm surge. It would not be as high as experienced over in the west, but you should also look out for some surge occurring in those areas of Clarendon and going into the Old Harbor Bay area. That's a possibility. Also in the vicinity of, as we move closer to Kingston, as St. Catherine as you move from across the border from St. Catherine into Kingston, St. Andrew, along the coast, could also experience some amount of storm surge. And that is basically it in terms of the technical aspects of this presentation. I just want to encourage all of us to have faith in this time, believe that we will get through it, and we will get through it together. Nobody is on their own. If you feel that you're on your own, reach out to somebody. And if you see somebody who is alone and who seems very depressed at this time, seems very anxious, please reach out and offer some words of assurance, because this is not the end. It's the end of my presentation, but it's not, but it is not the end of our time here on this earth.